Hello, Jeff. Hey, Ray, I've got a couple more people coming from the fitness class. So in the waiting room, that would be Debbie and Elena. There's Debbie.
Hey, hello everybody and welcome to the
Hey, Jeff.
zKitchen. It is Jeff Widgren and glad to be here, glad to be back. Heading into the weekend always, kind of the end of the week marker. Fun to get together with folks that we know and always some new guests as well. So anyways, it's the Zoom Test Kitchen is a live workshop. It's not agenda driven necessarily from top to bottom, but folks often come in with ideas or challenges or maybe even some things that they've identified and figured out that they want to share with others as well. So anyways, that's what it's all about. Feel free to invite your friends. We're often made up of people who produce just simple meetings, complex meetings, full-on productions and live events, just a whole mix of folks that depend on Zoom either in whole or in part. So it is good to be here. So I'm going to turn up my levels there a little bit and see if that helps a little bit. Let me know. Anyways, welcome. Let me get to gallery view and see everybody. Say a quick hello. I'll just rattle off names rather than long discussions. And I know we have some guests here that we'll let Lois dive into a little bit. So we've got Lois, we've got Gail, Laura, Tamara, Jesse, Ray, John Idelson, Leo Mendel. Haven't seen you in a while. Haven't seen John either for a while. Arvin, Deborah, and Tracy is everybody I see in the kitchen right now. So welcome to all. And Lois, I know we had a short email exchange. You come here with purpose today and some friends as well. So why don't we kick that off now? And I think that's around breakout rooms, if I recall.
Yes, so
I'll let you lead the way, and I'll help out when we need it.
thank you. I want to introduce you to Deborah Ernessy, and Debbie has her camera off, but she is the leader of our exercise group here in Davis, California, where I live. And Gail Yakota is also assistant to Debbie, as I am. And then Elena didn't make it in, but if she ever gets here, she's another assistant. This group has been doing exercises together since March of 2020 and having a great time. Now we're going to be doing a reading group for a book on breathing that Debbie wants us all to know about and talk about. And so I have the questions we did a little pre-meeting to make sure we'd get things. So everybody will have hopefully read the whole book, but if they didn't, they can come anyway. We want to have discussion sessions. This to temporarily go into a room and then come back to the main room, and then go into another room and then come back to the main room. And so a number of questions. Can we use closed captioning live transcript in a breakout room? No, right?
I'm sorry, I was gaining up and it soloed my channel, so I missed just the last part of what you said, the question portion of it.
Can we use closed captioning or live transcript in a breakout room for that breakout room?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Can we use chat in a breakout room? Yes.
You can use chat, which is limited to those that are in that breakout room. Yes.
Right. And I know from experience that if I'm in the main room and I've had some chats and then I move myself to a room, I can still see my original chats, but no more chats that are done in some other place will show up for me. They'll only show up in the room that you are in at the time you are in it. Okay, good.
Yep.
So we're thinking of having a breakout room. So there'll be a little intro, and then we'll go to a breakout room for 15 minutes and have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 people, depends on how many people in the whole group. And we want to have that for about 15 minutes and be randomized. And then we'll go back to the main room after we've discussed things, and then we want a second breakout room with different people in it. So what's the best way to have different people in the first set and the second set? I don't know how many people there's going to be in the whole thing.
Yeah. So the auto assign, and I'll share a screen and share this with you as well. But there's an option. You can either pre-assign or assign, not assign, let people choose, and you can auto assign, and that is let Zoom do it. And that's as close to randomization as you can get without guaranteeing that you won't be in a room that somebody else was also, that you were in with previously. There's just no promise of that. If you needed to, guarantee that nobody is in the same room with anybody that they were before, that would be custom development from a third-party firm and so forth.
No, that would just be a piece of paper with a little graph on it. I've done it that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah.
is the way that Zoom chooses who goes into what room? Do they I'll put the first one in room A and first one in C, and then, or does it go, I'll go these 4 in that room and then these 4 in that room? Do you know how Zoom chooses?
I do not. Does anybody else here know? I mean, it's a behind the scenes algorithm, but I'm not familiar with how it makes its choices. Yeah.
So if it doesn't use the same algorithm all the time, then you would get more variation than if it used the algorithm all the same time. Okay, that's good.
From my understanding, I think it just goes by trying to keep an even count on the rooms, and even distribution is the primary. That's my understanding.
Okay. All right.
Laura has some input on this. Lois, Laura? You're muted.
The only 2 things I wanted to say was, 1, be careful because you can reopen the same set of breakout rooms that you closed. You have to actually reconfigure them. And 2, I know the only thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to have one moderator stay in each room, and that was almost impossible to do with the random assignment.
Okay, well, let's address that last one. I believe that a co-host can put themselves in any place they want, even if it has been randomly assigned. Is that true? Yes, Anissa.
I was going to say you can pre-assign just the co-hosts, and then every time you open the rooms, they will automatically go into it, but they can still move wherever they need to go. But if you're reusing and recycling those breakout rooms with a pre-assigned set of room moderators, they will automatically go in when you open the rooms.
You can do that, or on the flip side of that, say you go into, you create your breakout rooms, say you want 5 of them. There's a check mark right underneath assign automatically that says to include co-hosts when assigning. And so if you don't include them, all the host and co-hosts will remain in the main room, and the co-host can then they know what room they're assigned to, and so this one chooses number 1, this one chooses number 2, or the name that you gave them. So that's a possibility as well.
Well, that sounds great. In the breakout rooms, we would like to have the questions that they're going to discuss pre-sent to them in the chat. So I'm assuming that if I've sent it to everybody in the chat in the main room before we open the breakout rooms, then everyone will see that when they're in the breakout rooms, if they can see chat. And they don't all have to. If any one of them can, we're okay. So is that true, though?
Yeah, I mean, your chat history stays with you as you move into a breakout room. So if they received it prior to opening the breakout rooms, then it would still be in their chat window.
Great.
That, or you say, hey, these questions are, if they're different questions for each breakout room,
No, that would be the same.
then it would be more of a tie to each co-host and let them carry them into the breakout rooms. But
Right. Before I get to Gail, I wanted to introduce Elena, who has just arrived. She is the fourth of our little internal volunteer staff. Gail.
So when you randomize and you put people into the breakout rooms, I've been in a situation where the randomization to put someone in a breakout room, to the participants, they didn't go in. They stayed in the main room. What's happening when you're expecting them to go into a breakout room and they don't?
yeah, so it happens often, and it's understanding the behavior, and that's what you're asking is, what's the behavior that's allowing that to happen? We can go through this exercise if you guys desire as a group as well. When I open breakout rooms, you're all going to get a pop-up dialogue that you have to accept. So the best way I can describe your main room lingerers are those who made you think they were in the meeting and they walked away from their computer. Most often that's the case. It may just be a matter of timing, it may be intentional, but commonly they aren't there. Most people don't sit there and ignore the request, but it's when they're not at their desktop that they don't accept that request. Who else
Tamara.
has some feedback on that?
Tamara.
Oh, I actually have feedback because I do this a lot with like hundreds of people. And we found that depending on the size of your group, sometimes people who normally can go in and out of breakout rooms can't do it. So if they're on an iPad or an iPhone sometimes, or if they're on Chrome, sometimes it gets locked out. So the way I've overridden that is I've checked the box that assigns them automatically and doesn't give them the option to accept or don't accept. They just go in. And that seems to, for the most part, fix that problem.
Is that a setting that you would need to change for the meeting before it happens, or is that an in-meeting setting, or where is that setting?
It's in the little gear icon, the settings as you're setting up breakout rooms. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't know exactly what it is. But there's a
good time to share it too.
Allow
pop up a view.
Yeah, it changes. It's like assign them on its own, and it's not let them. Let me see.
Yeah. So you have assign automatically, which is what you said you avoid, and then you can assign manually, and that is you go ahead and create a number of breakout rooms, select assign manually. When you get the create completed, then you have the rooms. It creates the rooms, and nobody's in them, nobody's assigned to them, and then you manually assign people to specific rooms.
Can you show us that? I don't think it will do anything to us if you just do.
No, it won't do anything right now.
Yeah.
And so I've created 5 rooms, and then that's where you can start. You can get the list of everybody in the meeting, and you can say this person, this person, this person, and this person goes to that one, and then you can go to the next one, and so forth. So that's
And the
under options, because there's 2 ways to do it. If you were to just do that, it would give me a thing that says, do you want to join? There is somewhere behind the scenes where you can choose to make them go automatically. And so they don't get that. Yeah, they don't know. It's actually in how the delivery happens. So if you open up a regular set of breakout rooms, it's going to say, you've been asked to join room 3, and you click on that to join. There's actually a place where you can choose to not have that happen.
It's right there.
It's that third option.
It's the third
Yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah, it says automatically. Here, let me
Okay.
test a little magnification as well. Maybe, there we go.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then it will just put people in the breakout rooms when you open it up. And then if someone doesn't go in because there's some kind of conflict, the host in the main room can just manually place them there. But that'll get most of the people there.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, the use case is not for your 900 person meeting because of the manual assignments, but if you have a group or a meeting that is manageable and you can do that in time, they come back and you've got, you know, 15 minutes in the main room before the next, you know, breakouts and so forth, you can build these as they're meeting. They don't have to open them. There's this go to breakout rooms, tell it how you want it to assign or not the individuals. And and so then there's this create the breakout rooms. Then phase 2 is assignments of people to rooms. And then finally it's a open the rooms option. And so you can build and configure that prior to ever opening them. And so you may want to assign somebody that's helping you manage the meetings. You know, if you're involved in the main session somehow, or managing, you know, audio or speakers or spotlighting or whatnot, have somebody else, a co-host, build those breakout rooms out in the meantime. I'll put a word of warning out. You can't have a team manage the creation of breakout rooms. It doesn't work because, you know, my dialogue here that you're seeing will not refresh to something, let's say Lois is building at the same time. It just doesn't I mean, it kind of makes you think you can work in tandem because it doesn't stop you from being that second or third person.
But whoever
who's
pushes the
co-host.
button first, theirs
That's right.
kicks in. Yeah.
That's the configuration, correct.
We have also learned.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have also learned that if someone changes roles, they were host and then they were co-host. If they switched, it wipes out the breakout room information that they had made, which was very annoying. And if the host is kicked out of the meeting and comes back and becomes a host again, all our work is longer. It's very temporary. Anyway, but we won't need that for what we're doing. So this is all good. I think that was the last of the questions that we had. And I think I would like to, if you all will take 30 seconds or so, to have Deborah teach us one breathing exercise.
There you go. Let's real quickly, I'm into doing that and supporting it, but while this dialogue is up, just browse through all these options, because your last couple of comments of kind of losing things and so forth, for the host who's the account holder, the Zoom account holding host, you can create definitions of breakout rooms and you can save them, which is tied to this meeting. So if you have a recurring meeting that uses the same meeting ID, Zoom Test Kitchen has used the same meeting ID for 2 years almost now. And if you have that recurring meeting, this saving of breakout rooms will save that definition that you can reuse over and over again. So it can certainly speed things up, which means you could open the meeting with nobody else in there, and at least do the creation piece of the rooms and then save it and have that, you know, expedite that part of the process anyways. So anyways, that I wanted to add that. I see in the chat that I had a little something on the stream there.
How do you save again? I'm sorry.
It's these triple dots here on the screen, and so right here it pops up just a little window that says Save Breakout Rooms, and so you can save that, and it's tied. Commonly, we think when we save, we have to then give it a file name. That, you know, we can give it that name, so it's identifiable. And let me blow this up to. I don't think I've read this very closely before. So saving these breakout rooms will also save the existing configuration you created. For instance, the participants in room 1 will be saved. And so even if you had a pre-meeting, for instance, of you and all your co-hosts, that would be one way to get, you know, the rooms built and defined, the kind, and you have no participants, but that's a good point that you could save and at least know that they would be there. Attach these breakout rooms to this meeting ID for future use, which is a check mark. And I'm thinking, okay, so if you don't check that, does it become available for all your meetings? And my guess would be yes, but I haven't actually tested that.
Once
Leo
you
has his hand up, guys. Leo, do you have a contribution?
These are great questions, Lois. I just have a couple of really quick things on breakouts that may be of use or may not related. One of the things is I do a lot of live streaming that also will be that we have a breakout. And when you do the pre-assignments, you want to leave people in the main room. You can't do that if you do the automatic assignments. If you wanted to be literally thinking in your head that you want 5 room breakouts plus the main room, if you want somebody left for the streaming, you can't do that when you do pre-assignments. When you do the automatic assignment, because it will shift everybody in. And the second thing that we found when we've done big events, when we've had lots and lots of people, is we ask people to rename themselves according to the room assignment that they're expecting to go in, so we can do it. So if you ask them to put the number in front of their name, so 1, 2, or 3, so they know their room numbers, it's then really fast for you to be able to assign them all manually yourself. And we can do like 200 people in a couple of minutes when you've got most of them.
Yeah. Well, and point being, if I were to encourage, let's do it with 4 of you. So Lois, add a number 1 to the beginning of your name. Gail, add a number 2 to the beginning of your name.
Can you stop
Tamara,
sharing
number
screen so
3.
I can see something?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
And Tamara, if you put a number 4 in front of yours. I want to show this because it's the practice is good and useful because of the way Zoom sorts. And you just want to make sure that not only in the participants window, you can see it sorting. I have a 1, 2, 3 was going to be Tamara. Tamara was 4, and Gail. So Lois, did I not do?
And Debbie's typing. She's typing. I can see her fingers.
Okay. So somebody add a number 3 in front of their name, and we'll just use this part as an example. But the participants list is, it may be the same practice can be really useful to help a moderator or tech admin with spotlighting. So you have this huge group of people, but you'll always have these folks up top, whether it's numbers or an underscore or a dash, some kind of special character outside of the alpha characters will get sorted up top. But with that also, when you do breakout rooms, here I'll share again. And when you do breakout rooms, now when we assign, you can see all of a sudden where that 1, 2, 3, 4 becomes really, really easy to see, like Leo mentioned. So, yeah, so sometimes it's creative efforts to make it happen. Auto assignment, I'll just throw a reminder out there. It doesn't throw everybody out there. You can avoid sending the hosts and sending the co-hosts to the breakout rooms with that check mark on that initial breakout room creation. You can tell it not to do that, so they can be left behind. But individual participants, if you're doing auto, all your participants will be assigned, and there's no avoiding that. And
Once
then,
you
finally,
Once you saved your room assignment, how do you get it back the next time you open up your meeting?
so if I go here to save, and I'll say ZTK breakout room 1, and I'll say hit save on that. And then if I go to breakout rooms, go to recreate, and let's see, that's a save.
Is it in options? No.
Nope. Wonder if I have to open it once to do it. Got them saved.
We can come right back if you open it with, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else does know on the save and being able to recall it.
Do you want to open a room, close it, and see if that does it? You just click open.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can just simply close the dialogue and reopen it, and if it offers you the save.
I did that initially.
Oh.
So breakout rooms, without doing anything else other than options, save, recreate. Yeah, nothing there either.
Let's open it and
It's
just,
saved to the meeting ID number. So if you change your breakout room parameters and then save that as something else, then you'll have two things saved to the meeting ID. And then when you go to breakout, it's going to ask you, do you want this one or do you want that one?
So, okay. No, that makes sense. That, or if I add some assignments even, I wonder if it will, we may not be visually seeing that it's obvious. I think your point is there's only one and it's tied to this ID. There's no reason for it to force me to tell it what to load. I think that's the point being made there. So that makes total sense. So let's go. Lois and Gail are there. Let me go with Deb and Dan. I'll leave it at that.
just hit open. No, not that.
Well, I want to save this with 4 people assigned prior. I'm going to save this. I'm not going to, well, I guess I should be able to keep it to the ID, but just give it another name. So I'll make it number 2, and then I'll save that, and then I'll open that, and then I'll close it. I'll give it about 30 seconds while you 4 depart. So we've got a few that are gone. And just as a note, while we're looking at it, the status of their microphone and cameras now show up in the breakout room manager dialogues. You can't do anything with them, but it at least lets you know that what their mic and video statuses are. You can rename while they're open. Never used to be able to do that. You can add more rooms. Never used to be able to do that. And so they've enhanced them a bit.
The rename was there. The rename's been there for about maybe 9 months because we've done them in our webinars before, the breakout room renames. Yeah.
Now, you just said breakout rooms are supported in webinars.
Sorry, in our meetings. In our meetings, sorry.
In your meetings? Okay. I just want to make sure that those who haven't used them yet don't get confused there, because it's one of our longest lasting wishes, right? All right, so I'm going to close these. And they're coming back. I'll close the breakout room. And it keeps the config that we had, because we haven't, ended the meeting or whatnot. We'll poke around here and see if there's options, and there aren't there. If I go to recreate, I'll say 5. Add a room, recreate.
Just like Zoom. They let you save in this release, next release, they let you load them.
Yeah, that's wild. Maybe Josh, maybe you can tag out there to their documentation to see if what we're missing or whatnot, because I certainly don't see anything intuitively that lets us reload our definition.
Good afternoon, Jeff. How are you?
Good. Who was that? Who did I just miss?
This is Tlaloc. Without my video on, but
Tlaloc. Long time no here.
Yeah. Would you be willing
Good
to
deal.
maybe raise your volume just a little bit, because everyone else is a bit louder than you, and in order to hear you?
Everybody is saying it's so. Let me see. Let me check my vMix here real quick.
While you're doing that, let me thank you and on behalf of the Fit for Life crew, and we appreciate you answering all of our questions. And so unless there's something else you'd
bet.
like us to do, we'll head out. Oh, yes, and remember to breathe.
Very good. Very good. Well, thanks for coming in as a crew. Hope it was helpful. Good to meet you. You're welcome back anytime. The meeting ID and password are the same every week. So, you can reference back to previous invites or even if it was, a lot of, I don't know, how many of you join meetings? You bring up the client, you click on join, and you click on the drop-down list. And it gives you several that you have joined. I seldom ever join a Zoom on my phone, but almost every morning that I can, when I join office hours, that's the one Zoom meeting. And so when I'm in my vehicle, I just join, go to the history list, just select it, and it just saves me typing all that information again. So anyways, it can be really helpful. Is my volume level any better? Okay.
Yes, it's better.
Very good.
A little bit better.
Good.
Can I come
Little
on that
bit,
point
huh?
that you just, Jeff?
All right. Yeah, Leo, go ahead. What do you got?
Jeff, coming on that point, and you're talking about the drop down, which I just did, I do all the time for exactly the same as you do for office hours and after hours. However, it will not work for a meeting with a passcode in it, as in example this meeting, because I did actually drop out and try to drop back in using the drop down for that to join this meeting earlier today, and it won't work.
It works,
So
but you have to
on
put the
my
password in.
it just pops up a dialogue and asks you to put in the password.
Right.
Yeah, it does that. Yeah, you're right. But driving and trying to put in a passcode and not the
Yeah,
greatest thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
easy to go
No,
back to
absolutely.
the email and click on it.
Not quite as convenient. That is a fact and a good point.
Just
So,
mash your
in your
pad against the
browser-
keypad, and we'll change the password to whatever you mash your hand up against it, Leo. We'll accommodate.
So the meeting ID for those that have been here once and are welcome to come back anytime is the same, and the password's the same, zKitchen as well. So come back anytime, whether you have specific questions or you just want to sit and treat it like a podcast. You can see there's some cameras that are off and you just have listeners, and we also stream it to YouTube, to the Zoom Test Kitchen YouTube channel. And so our Facebook group is, I think I'm 1 or 2 people away from 1,000 members. And our YouTube group, I'm not seeing that page in front of me right now. I think it's 200 or 200 plus. But, it's just some good archive, some good information. So thanks so much. Lois.
Okay, on my way out, I want to put in a request for whoever puts in requests to Zoom. The history should be more than 10 meetings. Oh, come on. How many people only go to 10 meetings in a week?
Yeah, we'll see you, Lois. Thanks so much.
My amplifier goes to 11.
It goes to 11. Very good. All right. Well, we've that was a good exercise. Any other questions, thoughts, contributions, experiences on breakout rooms before we depart that topic?
I have a question.
Yeah. Who said that? Uh-oh. Silence.
Your mic's off. Whoever said that, your mic's off.
Somebody said, I have a question.
I see 3 things up, but I do have a question. So can I just go?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
I didn't want to jump on anybody else. So I'm doing, I do a writing retreat where I set up breakout rooms and people self-select where they want to go. And one of the challenges that was given to me was to create a breakout room where we have a picture of this rock that people want to decorate that has to do with a college reunion thing. And I was wondering how I could do that in a dynamic way. I thought of using whiteboards, but there's not very many tools to like decorate this rock. Does anybody know of a plugin or anything that will make it a more, we want people to be able to go in and add things to it. So like a shared space that they can do that with.
Inside a breakout room is probably somewhat of the first challenge. Whiteboards, I believe, are supported, right? But I don't know that are Zoom apps supported in breakout rooms.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I could do a low end version with that whiteboard, but it's just not very many. There's not like color options or anything.
The only other, and you've also, in your casual description, you're also saying that everybody needs to be able to control the mouse, right?
Right.
Yeah, which is a bit of a challenge of itself without it being like an integrated, Zoom app or a whiteboard type app or whatnot, so that they can all contribute.
Right.
Because setting up a second laptop that's also joined and in that breakout room is a visual way, but not a contributory way, where they can have remote control and so forth. Yeah, Lois.
You can do that if you have something outside of Zoom where they can all contribute, and there's lots of different options, whether it's on a browser or it's a standalone thing, and then they can all and work on that, and then just have that showing on a frame in the breakout room. And so they're actually manipulating something else, but it looks like they're manipulating that. I think
absolutely. I could put in another device into that from the outside. Because I already do that. I run a Pomodoro clock with one device. I've got like 6 devices. So I run one room that has a Pomodoro clock, and they just go in and write together, and they have the clock going. I have another room that has, different things in it. So I could do it you're right. If I do an outside thing where they go to that outside link, that it would just show up by projecting using an outside as a projector.
Like a web-based tool of some sort, right?
Yeah, is there a Google Draw or Google Google document?
Jamboard and Miro, we've used them in Zoom for our planning sessions all the time. They both work great.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. And then I could just use another device to share screen in that room, so people could go into that room and see it happening dynamically.
And you don't even have to share screen. If someone has something like OBS NDI on their computer, they can just be showing that picture.
Yeah.
Listen to Lois. OBS
I learned that last week.
It's like, what the heck is that? That's awesome.
I learned it last week, and it worked last night, and I'm so jazzed. Thank you, Ray.
Cool.
One quick suggestion related to that. If you're using a second device, if you're wanting them to join on the second device, you put a QR code up on the screen. They can point their phone at their computer to go and join wherever you've got the whiteboard system.
Yeah.
That way, it's a really quick link. We use that quite a lot. We use Slido a lot. We put QR codes up on the screen for kids, and they join instantly, because they're looking at the big screen, and they use their phones at the big screen and the QR.
Oh, cool. I love that. Awesome.
And I wanted to say too, Tamara, that the bad news, that is good news for you as far as Zoom apps, is that Zoom apps, they're not really apps inside of Zoom. So having the second screen experience, whether they're in breakouts or not, really doesn't matter at this point. Maybe that'll change soon, but currently it's...
Well, the fact is if you send everybody to, let's say, a Slido, and they can all, that's a multi-user environment, or a Jamboard that's a multi-user environment, that when I draw a line, everybody else who's in their own Jamboard, not their own unique Jamboard session, but the same Jamboard session, they're all seeing it. So why project it? And the answer is if you have people in that room who are not participating,
Correct.
like,
Correct.
and they just need to simply see it, that's why you would also share the same thing the contributors are already seeing
Right.
in their browser, for instance.
No, I like that idea, because the way it's set up is people can go into a cafe, they can go wherever they want to go. They can choose to go there. So someone could choose to go and participate, and that would be in that, whatever that projection is. But then also they could come in and just see what people have done. So that's a perfect input. Thank you, guys.
You bet. Thank you. Laura, you have a question or contribution?
I just wanted to acknowledge Lois, and last night did an amazing job handling the media through OBS. She has come so far.
Oh, she sure has.
To
Hey, I don't think I'm too far off base that, a year and a half or so when Lois first joined the Zoom Test Kitchen, she may have, I'm just guessing, she might have left a little frustrated sometimes because we had discussions that departed Zoom a bit and were all around vMix or production tools that she just hadn't connected with yet. And so now she's got shows and meetings, and now she's recommending NDI and OBS. It's just like, it's awesome to see the growth and so forth. It's fantastic. So
thank y'all.
That's off. Yeah.
It's just another art medium that you have to learn. That's all.
It gives you so much flexibility. It really does. To be able to have that console between your camera and Zoom, where you can do whatever you want graphically, throw some bugs up there or lower thirds or raise balloons, or it just that opportunity to have those extra tools and quite honestly, playback video versus sharing, using the built-in share. Now, the built-in share, I heard it, I think it was office hours a couple of days ago. The recommendation on playback was, a playback system of some sort. But fact of the matter is I don't think it's really burned into Zoom users' practices yet that there's sharing the desktop or sharing an application such as like VLC video player, but share a video in Zoom under the advanced tab is to share a video. And the whole reason for that, the whole reason they developed that and released it last year was to improve the frame rate. And so even on a free or pro account where you don't have high resolution, you share, people are compelled to share a video, like share the desktop, play the video. They're compelled to do that because it will, even on a let's just say low end account, as far as being licensed, it will still share at a high resolution, except the frame rate kicks your hiney because it drops to like 3 to 6 frames sometimes, and it just stutters. Well, that problem was solved by Zoom under the advanced tab of share and share video, and that will take it'll optimize. It automatically says optimize for sound and video. It'll take a 4K video or a 1080 video and it'll knock it down to 720, and it will take a low resolution Zoom account and still share it at 720 with a good frame rate. And the frame rate I've tested many times is like 25 frames a second, which is perfectly acceptable.
Yes.
And so it doesn't, these days it doesn't require it. Now, that doesn't get rid of, having a Stream Deck here that I can push a button and it just bang, it puts it in my vMix preview, throws it over, replaces my camera with the video, and if I have OSC as well, it will spotlight, my camera and go full screen. There's ways to make it very automated and super smooth, and there's no Zoom admin who can do it faster, smoother than having some of those tools available at
we were cutting last night in Universe, and I will tell you from the TD's perspective, it was so smooth to have Lois have OBS up, and that gave me 2 inputs, her and the guest, and instead of 3 inputs. Lois, the guest, and the media. And it was just so smooth.
That's right.
But you do know that Zoom has increased the NDI capabilities in Zoom rooms. So six independents.
Well, announced yesterday, right?
Announced yesterday.
Andy started poking around out there. Yeah, it's like 12 at 720p, 12 NDI feeds at 720, and 8, I think it was, at 1080, or 6
at
or
1080. And so think about that is that nothing against vMix and all stuff in the cloud, but the fewer apps you need to run, think what you could do with the Zoom room and 6 independent NDI said you could switch.
Yeah.
And any one of those could be put onto a Stream Deck key. So now you got your Stream Deck being your switcher. Don't even need the ATM.
Right. Well, and that's really, I think that's the first, at least what I recognize as the first real comings together. That is Andy's creation coming through Zoom now, right? Is I don't know what contributed to it, but the ability to support a number of high resolution and so forth, and the OSC part of it to be able to push buttons, and it will eventually. It's going to get me. I haven't spent a lot of time on Zoom Rooms for the NDI piece of it. I went to the Zoom ISO, but at this point, it's going to be a major advantage to make that happen as well. Josh, you've had your hand up for a long time. What you got, brother?
Hey, Jeff. Actually kind of the thought that I had, what you were just talking about. So I know there's a separate group that does the Zoom events particularly, but there was just a release that was announced for the Zoom events and what features they have for the webinar. I think it might provide somewhat of a conflict of interest depending on which features they add with it. So some of the new Zoom events features may make it easier for clients to do their own production. But if they don't yet support Zoom Rooms or Zoom ISO, it makes it more difficult for us to make productions for them, particularly if they ask our opinion as far as, if they're coming to the end of their lease and they're asking where to go. So I guess that decision might be down to, would you like us to do your production or would you like to try and do it yourself? I don't know if you've got a chance to look at what those release notes were. They were recently posted as far as the Zoom events and some of the license.
Yeah, it'd probably be worth spending some time. I know I was fairly significant. I saw, Denise's comments on it, but I haven't dug in deep to really identify. But, I do recall when we had Sam from Zoom on the first time for Zoom events, and I wasn't a happy camper, quite honestly, because everything I heard and everything I felt emotionally was this product was released to the customer, the endpoint customer, not to production teams and so forth. And so I really felt like it was being taken out of the professionals' hands. But at the same time, the product, appeared early and continues to appear to be a fairly complex product as far as the time it takes and all the planning. And, it certainly had a lot of limitations at the beginning, and that, without hesitation to say, it's improved a lot every month, with continued development. But, single admin, single event manager, if you will, initially he was like, are you kidding me? And that's not the case any longer. And so there's a lot of things that have improved over time for sure. But it's one of those things. To realize, as a vendor developer doing all the R&D and so forth, like Zoom, are we going to develop and spend millions of dollars on development for a producer group in the industry, or the world? And the numbers are out there, and if they can prove that they can build a tool that the consumer will adopt, fantastic. I mean, those numbers will convert without question. So I just don't think that, it's not, it's certainly not going to put producers out of business by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, their professional events team at Zoom, who are producers, the event producers, they, although they may, at first instance appear competitive, which they are if you want to call it that, but the fact is it's one of their big growing areas. Well, if they're producing a tool that's so simple that any consumer can buy it and use it and not hire a professional, their pro events team wouldn't be growing like it's growing, and which means any production company out there. And the fact is Zoom's professional team that delivers professional events or consults or whatnot, they do not ship equipment. They don't run trucks into the dock and unload. They use local companies to provide that part of the services as well. And so, they're, live event companies are still, if they've got the talent and the skills and meet the requirements of, Zoom's criteria on that event, they're going to be the ones benefiting as well. And so there's lots to be had.
I tend to agree with you on that note, Jeff. I think a rising tide raises all ships in sense of that, as far as, Zoom's direction. I was just speaking more specifically about what specific features were enabled for the release and what implications that have for a client that asks us about upgrading from the regular webinar to the events webinar. Of course, we know that there are several advantages that does offer our clients, but I guess it would be pivotal around. I was asked the documentation I'm referring to. There's a couple of them, but one of them is the Zoom Rooms release. So with the new Zoom Rooms release, it's due for Saturday. Looks like it's to be out. Substantial upgrades to this product. I know that. Can you
magnify that up a little bit there, Josh?
Let's
just
see.
A Control plus a few times. There we go.
Yeah. So this is, sorry for the header there. So this is the due for June 26th release, and it goes whiteboard enhancements. Talks about users can start a meeting with an open whiteboard access. So there's that. Support for cloud, Zoom Rooms, voice commands. The important thing that I'm looking at is, so they've updated their library from 4 to 5. I did hear, so this is a big one. NDI supports 6 outputs at 1080p or 12 outputs at 720p.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's fantastic. I'm interested to see what hardware requirements, if they have changed. I could see that as happening because my personal experience is that I have a wimpy computer that can fly by at 720p for 3 720ps currently, but the 1080p is a substantially larger lift for another computer I have. Multi-day meeting display. Some API functions, which there's a lot there that needs unpacked as far as what API commands for potential clients and products. Some of these disable broadcast media message from host to breakout rooms, multi-pin and multi-spotlight, some watermark enhancements, interesting. Post-meeting virtual background auto reversal. Users can select or use any virtual background before or during any Zoom meeting. However, after the meeting is over, the user's background. Okay, never mind. This is just looks like it's just a setting there. I thought they were doing some magic with some recordings.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot of work, that's for sure, on so many of their products.
Multiple controllers access. That looks interesting. Yeah, so at the same time that they're gearing up, this was a long anticipated upgrade for the Zoom Rooms client. To my knowledge, Zoom Events does not currently support them. That or Zoom ISO.
Yeah, Zoom ISO got broke a while ago because, the day they released a feature that required you have this version or you don't get in the meeting was the day that Zoom ISO broke, and OSC, because it just couldn't comply. But it is upgraded. I think Andy told me last week that the SDK used to be like 5.4 something. Now it's 5.7.x. So it's up.
Can't hear you again, Jeff.
I think that'll just be a non-issue soon enough. So that will be a good thing. I gotta figure out. I must have to reset my equipment because I've never run my gains this high, and my mix pre is just banging the top of it right now too. So, and there are no compressors or no noise gates. Maybe I'm just whispering. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for the feedback, though. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Josh. Anybody else, real quick? John Idelson, you got your hand up there.
I was just going to follow up with what Josh is saying is that, we're a lot of the office hours group here and the people who are producers, look through one lens. The majority of the Zoom rooms are corporate meeting rooms in large buildings with corporations. And all these changes that are extra features are things that have been done to make them more efficient for organizations having Zoom rooms. And Zoom rooms within their organization have become much more important because now you're having hotel desks or you're having workspaces where you are open office, and when you need to get into a Zoom room, you need to do that. So you have to be able to move from your desk and into it. So a lot of these features turn out to be great for us in production, but they were really meeting even a bigger need for the literally millions of Zoom rooms that are in corporate America that were the old famous conference rooms where people died by PowerPoint. Just a little different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I got to know the audience for sure. Who's consuming it and what are they asking for, right? I mean, we know what we're asking for, but
well, it just makes me think of the old days of the pandemic where I was putting up Post-it notes as how soon will we get NDI in Zoom? And now we got 12 channels at 1080. I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. I think there's just I think there's an adoption lag with Zoom rooms in the production space. I think that's more the issue. It's like there is NDI. Now there's one Zoom room machine that can actually put out 12 720s or 6 1080s. I mean, what are you waiting for, right? And instead of being stuck on doing our production work with Zoom meetings, is get a Zoom room in there, and because now you have one machine that can probably take care of. I mean, a 12-person panel is a pretty doggone big panel, right? It's pretty hard to be outreached on that. So that's one machine. That used to be one to two laptop or one laptop per person or per two speakers, right? Spread out around our office space or workspace, and so the footprint is shrinking for sure.
Yeah, the old days were a Mac Mini with 3 isolated screens, and maybe only 2 being used to get the full resolution, and you had 5 of them. Life gets better.
Yeah, it does. It continues to get better. Has anybody noticed, real quick, this side note, if you have your chat window open, anything you type into chat, you can now delete. I can delete anything in chat. Ray can delete anything in chat because he's a co-host. David, did you get that feature added to your account as well? Because you had submitted that last week, right?
I did indeed.
Yeah. So it's, you get it, submit to support, the desire to have that feature enabled, which brings it to being visible in the back-end portal. Otherwise, you don't even see the option. And so then you can see the option. When they enable the feature, it does not enable the ability to delete. It just simply makes it visible on the back end. Then you have to turn that on. When you turn that on, the question is, are you going to do it organizationally wide under the advanced options or advanced settings or account settings? I just did mine under my account settings, and then it is there and able, which is great. One of the things I thought about, I said, what about those really big meetings where chat is almost like a movie? It's moving so fast. It's just zinging from the bottom to the top. How can you possibly catch a message that you need to delete? The question in my mind, and the test back, and I want to do it now, is how can you pause the chat window? Can you pause the scroll? And because I think if a co-host is helping you with meeting management, and that's their job, how are they going to do it successfully? And I believe, I haven't tested this yet, but I believe from my past experience that if you scroll up, that it starts putting alerts on the bottom: 1 new message, 2 new messages, 3 new messages, with a little down arrow that you can click on. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit and ask whoever, or not just one person, but several of you, just send a chat. And I want to make sure that I do. I'm sitting still. My chat window's not scrolling. My scroll bar handle is moving because now there's stuff to get down to. My messages at the bottom say 14 new messages now all of a sudden. So it does give you that ability to go chase a bad message, and it will hold the window for you, allowing you to then, it's the 3 ellipses to the right of the bad message, and you just click on that, and there's just one choice that pops up that says delete, and so you can make that happen now as well. So, all right. Other topics of conversation, challenge, we can...
Jeff, on the delete comments function, are we to understand then that the chat log reflects the deleted changes?
I don't think it does, because I tested that with just myself. Like, I posted a message and deleted it, and when the chat window was, when it had a message, I could save. When it had no message after I deleted it, I could not save because there was nothing to save. Then I added another post, and then I saved, thinking I might have both, right? Like my deleted one and it was gone. Even as the host, which I was like, okay. So I'm going to take, Josh posted 3 messages up, Zoom version requirements, ? I'm going to delete that. And did you get any notification, by the way? Okay, and I didn't think so. And so I'm going to now save the chat. I'm going to show in folder. I'm going to open that up, go down to the bottom, and my bottom message is Josh with the thumbs up, David with the version clarity 5.4.3, and then James posted ugly message. And between that James and David message was where Josh's message was. And so, yeah, there's no, at least here, there's no indication that that it was, here's the message, host, because I'm the host who just saved it, here's the message, and it was deleted during the session. There's no indication in the saved chat. I don't know if there's anything in the back end portal or not at this point, but I can check into that after the meeting's complete too. But that does, I mean, gosh, that's such a popular request, right? You know, is there anything I can do? No, boot the person. That's it. You know, I mean, now at least you can zap it and get rid of it. And if they keep offending, then you can boot. You know, it's at least a scalable process. If they don't stop the behavior as you continue to delete, then you just boot that user and take them out of the meeting. Okay. Someone's going. Did I miss a message? Somebody leaving. That looks a wave goodbye or a wave comment, David.
I just thought I'd share an update. I've been working with Andy on how to get Zoom chat into out of chat and into production machines, and so he built an Isadora
bridge, if you will,
that basically uses Zoom OSC. So it's not going to work right now because I can't get ISO into this meeting because although I tried, but
I have too many. Yeah, I have too many of the new features on.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but basically, all the chats that happen populate over here on this side, and then you can accept them. Over here, you can edit them if there's a typo or something. And then when you click Make Graphic, and then I can bring the graphic in just by clicking that, and you can see it pop up on my screen. So I've tested this in real life. It works beautifully. Just a really nice, and all you need is Isadora and Zoom OSC. Zoom OSC is free and Isadora is paid, obviously. But,
I was going to ask David, this is the free version of OSC.
You can use, so I'm actually using, I use Zoom ISO, which I paid for. Zoom ISO has the OSC features built into it, but you can use the free, you can actually use free ISO or free OSC, either one.
And you can use free Isadora too. If Andy was commissioned and if the contract says Andy owns the code, the intellectual property, he can just ship you this form, which he's done, and you can run this on the free Isadora version all day long. You just can't edit it and save any changes.
Right.
But it's like a runtime.
Fair enough. Yeah. So the only changes that you might want to make, well, the only changes that I feel qualified to make, let me put it that way, is over here on the drawing feature. So basically, what the pop-up looks like. And so I changed the shape, fill and shape line to my brand colors, and you can do the same with the text draw. But other than that, the real complicated piece of this was the math that gets it to either for the box to fit the size of the text. Basically, is the complicated piece of this. But I mean, what he did is amazing, and this is I actually just posted it in the Ecamm Discord because he said this is out there, it's free, it's for anyone who wants to use it. Wow. And it's really, really powerful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, we're getting there, right? I mean, we're getting there on that. So good stuff. Scott in chat says, where do you find it? Scott Mueller asks in chat. So
if you go to, I posted a walkthrough video on my YouTube channel at toratecheye.tv. I also posted it in the Ecamm Facebook group and the Ecamm Discord server. And Andy actually just posted it in in the Office Hours Discord, if anyone's interested.
And I shared it in the chat here.
And she shared it in the chat.
Is
and if you want the actual file,
guy?
Just send me a message. I'm happy to. We're going to still tweak it a little bit. There are a couple things that weren't working when I did the demo, and I've already reached out to Andy. He's going to tweak it a little bit, but yeah.
Very cool. James.
When you have two monitors trying to find the mouse to get.
Oh, I hear you.
Just take me off Spotlight, Jeff.
Oh yeah, thanks.
I was just going to say, I don't think there's really a log that shows like this chat has been removed and that kind of information, except when you're using that Zoom ISO, or Zoom.
We're having a hard time hearing you. I'm sorry. Can you maybe up your?
Sorry. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Sorry, I wasn't addressing my microphone, and I don't know what the level setting is. And this might be a little lower because I don't have it boosted. I was just going to say, like, there's not like a log of like things that were removed from chat. Although I think with the Zoom OSC, you could certainly have that programmed in there, like when chat messages were removed. So then you could track those later. And I know seeing L's thing with Zoom OSC, the what do you call those add-ins? Like, so if someone posts a URL, you can kind of have those kind of things. But has anyone used any Zoom OSC chat moderation kind of, like to find a, here's a list of words that are unacceptable in chat, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, the word list is now supported in Zoom, and so you can actually enable, they call it formally bad word, or what they labeled it. If somebody knows, chime in. You're muted, David.
Sorry, profanity filter, I believe.
Profanity filter. And yeah, so you can enable it inside of Zoom itself now, which certainly simplifies that because it's integrated deeply. I think the question was, have any of us used the Zoom OSC methods for it? And I'll say no on my side, because it's you can get it, but it's already out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, depends on what you're going to do with it. So David's implementation of, he says, I want to be able to choose what I want to pop up as a lower third. And that's is what the folks will see. But it's still sourced from Zoom chat. And so if there hasn't been till recently with the addition of deleting, there hasn't been a way to, like that approval column that David just showed us in Isadora. It's already in the Zoom chat. It got there first, and then it came into Isadora, if you will. Then you approved it and turned it into a graphic. But because your broadcast is managed, and that's what you're broadcasting, you're not necessarily broadcasting, the chat, the whole chat of Zoom. That works for you just fine.
There is one other piece to that puzzle, if you're interested, Jeff, and that is that we don't have it activated right now, but he built in to Isadora a profanity screener. So this profanity screener links out to some other list somewhere, and if we put this in the chain, it would go right there. If we put this in the chain, then it would automatically not allow, and it wouldn't even put chats with profanity into the all chats area. It would just block them completely. You could do the same thing by this one. The question gate does it have a question mark? So if you're just looking for questions. So Isadora is yet another, using OSC and Isadora would be another way to kind of filter your chat messages. But for language, I think you're right. Just doing it right in Zoom is probably the easiest way.
Well, I get, my point is flow. So if there's an audience in the Zoom meeting and they all turn on their chat, when somebody types out in post, let's say a profane post, it goes into the chat for full visibility first, then it can be captured like to a tool like Isadora. You can't capture it first and approve it into Zoom. Your approval process is for your alternate method of broadcast versus editing what actually gets shown in Zoom. It's Zoom chat, and now
right, but you could say you can only chat to host.
Yeah, host.
And then use the
sure
ISO, the OSC version to only put up questions that are appropriate.
Absolutely.
That way.
Yeah. So the public visibility is at a minimum for sure. There is none. Absolutely great point for sure.
And looking forward, I don't know if there will be some upgrades to Zoom OSC that might give handles to the deleting process.
Well, that's what I was just going to say too. Is there an ID that like he captures that, and David Paskin sees this, profane, or there's a marker that says, hey, there's a bad word here. He can just hit delete, and it takes that ID that's maybe behind the scenes and says, hey, send this back to Zoom and delete that chat ID, right? And that would that's certainly a question I have for Andy or to see if that piece is available. Is there an API? Breaking up.
Happen really quickly.
What happens really quickly? That's all we heard is happens really quickly.
Yeah, you were breaking up really bad.
It could happen really quickly in so far as it sees profanity, it deletes it, and so you may not even be able to read that in the chat.
Yeah. If it does that decision making for you, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We've been using time delay in other formats. The chat could be time delayed.
Yeah, there's yet another way to do this with Zoom OSC that doesn't have any filtering, at least in the way that I'm doing it. So if you take Zoom OSC into the meeting and then use this little node.js script that's called Zoom chat proxy, you can then bounce those chat messages over to here to record, and then use that as a graphics playout where you can sort of do your editing and filtering a bit more manually, but not as cool as Isadora, but not as complex as far as the setup.
I'm just looking for something here, not finding it yet. Tlaloc, you have other questions or comments? Your hand is still up, not sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Tlaloc, I don't know if you can hear us, but you're breaking up really bad.
Down now.
All right. Okay, so I don't know if anybody has seen it or use it or whatnot, but not brand new, but fairly fresh, is the ability to report on chat history. Now you under reports / user activity reports, you have the ability to report on chat history. For the IM users, they've kind of reshuffled their menuing system a little bit there. That note I took. Let's see, there are a couple others here. Groups of IM groups have been finagled a little bit as well. It's called group management now. And so anyways, well, if I share this out, this popped up when I logged in today to my portal. I don't know if you guys also saw this, but it says, hey, welcome to the new and improved admin experience. And so these captures that I I took or the tour that they took me through. So IM groups are now group management. IM groups visibility. You can alter IM settings have been moved to account settings and renamed to Zoom chat. And yeah, that's the fourth one, is that chat history I was just talking about as well. And then at least David and I, we've talked about is that ability to delete messages. This is what shows up in your portal under enabling chat. So allow users to delete in-meeting chat. That's the first time I've seen them reference in-meeting versus just chat, which has always been really blurry to me. And so I'm glad to see that they have done that. So in the settings enabled, participants can delete their own messages, and host and co-host. And that's the first time, I think it's the first time I've seen them clearly describe that. When they've always assumed that when they say host, they mean host and co-host. Now they at least have it spelled out, which is helpful. Can delete any messages, so any and all messages sent during the meeting. All participants must have that 5.4.3 that David had typed in the chat here earlier. So some new stuff there. So continuing to, develop, release, and impress. They have always done a good job with that, and doing a whole lot of it for sure. Any other questions or whatnot that, popular topics have always been, I had somebody write me yesterday, I think on my website, but he's been in the kitchen before, about resolution, being able to, in particular, he wrote that, how to successfully connect a portal to a meeting. Trying to see if I've got it here real quick. and achieve, improved resolution. Let me see if I can find this super quick. Yeah, it's this one. Can you please tell me the date when one of your guests made the case for augmenting Zoom meetings with Facebook portals? I bought 2 of these and I'm frustrated. I've never been able to solve the audio feedback problems. And I don't quite have enough information on there, like, are you connecting the portals for a resolution increase? And if you are, mute the portals. It may be that it's, just and or are there open speakers? I'm not sure, but
before we knew that we could ask for 720, I've got a portal sitting over here that I haven't touched for a year and a half, I think, since I was able to ask. But yeah, I sign in, leave it there, turn off the camera, turn off the mic, and it just sits there.
Yeah, it's just its presence created the bump, right, of resolution. But yeah, now, and we could always ask. It's just, during the heat of COVID, the earlier part versus the latter part, we could rest assured that if we're on a free account, the answer is going to be no. And we were pretty sure that if we had a pro account, it would still be no, just because they didn't have the infrastructure to be able to support that. But they kind of had to, they had to be able to respond to business accounts, which start at 10 pro accounts minimum, right? And go up from there, and or enterprise accounts, which are larger. So they had to be responsive to those. So they had to, preserve their infrastructure for their biggest paying customers while they scaled their infrastructure. So now it's easy enough, right? Like I said, just ask and you shall receive. If you're on a business account, your receiving can pretty easily be 1080. but if you're on a pro account, just a single license, you can get 720. So
And
I think-
Tamara and Scott are correct also, Jeff, that you can just join the meeting and then leave, and the 720 is persistent.
It sticks. Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. It, that project that I think is Guy and Jonas, worked on for a while is just to, I don't remember what they called it, but you just bring up a web page, type in your meeting ID, and magically behind the scenes you'd get this visitor, and it was a Zoom room.
Meeting
It'd be
meters.
meeting,
Like that.
yeah. I think it was meeting meters. Yep, and it would just be a visitor that would just be there for 20 seconds, and it would pop in. You'd get the bump, and away it went. And so it wasn't even a long burn time on either the Zoom room or anything else. Ray, I see your note there, and so thanks for coming in. Looking good, enjoying your new car. Awesome.
Okay, thanks. Sorry I have to bust.
Yeah, no problem at all. Good seeing you. James, you have your hand up, and then John.
I put this in the chat as well. I'm just wondering if we could test the whiteboard, the new whiteboard, because I just wanted to see, maybe you guys already did it before, like in a week before, but I just wanted to see, like, as people, like, especially like line strokes, and I'll just say this in terms of Zoom bombing, I've certainly seen where someone's drawing something and someone just creates one line, which makes a bad image from what they had there before. And just how does one see, like, if you just do a line as opposed to a box or whatever, just to kind of, we have not enabled whiteboards on our account yet, and we're just kind of trying to get a sense of that.
Yeah, and I mean, whiteboards are, they fall into that category of annotation, right? Annotation being you can mark up on top of a slide presentation if you want to, or any share at that. So it falls into that category, and I don't know why they don't do it with annotation, and I'm saying, I don't know why they don't allow you to control the ability to turn annotation on or off under the security menu of the toolbar, because they did put whiteboards there. And allow participants to share screens, chat, rename, unmute, start video, share whiteboards. Why annotation's not? I know where it is. It's in the toolbar.
They put it in the documentation. So in Zoom's documentation, there is a picture of the Shield security tab that shows turn annotation on and off.
Really?
But it doesn't. I have not seen.
I wonder. Let's try something here. Let me share a screen. So there's some release notes. Now I'm going to, under my share toolbar, not the share toolbar, come on. I'm going to go to my more on the toolbar right now, and I want to, okay, so enable annotation. Because I'm the sharer, I now, so I used to have annotation on in my meetings. It was by default, it was enabled. I changed that, and so now if I enable that, now it popped up under my security option. Yep, good deal. So under my security shield, I can enable sharing of whiteboards and or annotate on shared content. So I'm going to uncheck annotate, and can you continue to annotate?
Nope.
Looks like not. Okay, so it stopped it on the fly. I'm going to turn it back on.
But the annotation's still there.
Yeah, it may still be there, but it wasn't letting you do anything. Now you should be able to annotate again, though. I re-enabled it. Okay. The thing about it is I don't think it used to be there, but needless to say, I'll tell you, there's far too many presenters that, one, they hold, they hold to whoever's hosting the meeting, right? Whoever's account is hosting the meeting, and what are the settings? And is annotation on by default or off by default? And do I, the speaker who's going to share something, do I have control over that as well? And there's just far too many folks who, the size. Let me stop this share and let me share my Zoom window instead, so you can see what I'm talking about. And that is, so now this is an annotator. You're seeing my gallery. Go ahead and let's see if annotation is still, it's still enabled. So you should be able to mark up this screen, and there it is. So you're able to annotate. And when that starts happening, one, it looks bad. Two, it looks unprofessional. Three, it freaks the speaker out because most of them have no idea how to fix it. And it's under the More menu, and that toolbar kind of hides itself anyway. So it doesn't help just to go to the top of the screen for the menu. If you go there, even if you go to the top of the screen with stop share, but if you go, you have to mouse over the green portion of that hidden menu to have it float down. Then you go to the More, and you look at More and you go, wow, that's a pretty huge menu of options. And one of them there is disable annotation. You can hide the names of the annotators so you don't give away the contributors, if you will, and you can disable it. And so, convenient. Now the host, when annotation is enabled, the host can, manage that as well. So that could be a coordination piece. If it's a production and you want to coordinate things, then you can coordinate. Hey, when you share, I will make sure that annotation's not on until you get to slide what, and they tell you what slide, right? And so the host behind the scenes can be enabling it and disabling it and so forth. But as far as being able to clear the annotation as well, that's not under the More. That's under Annotate. And so Annotate itself is there where you can clear the annotation as well. I think they have someone told me there's a new line. I can't remember if this is just a line. Mouse, select, text, draw. I'm trying to see if I can recognize it. I saw them demonstrate it. Instead of trying to draw a line and then erase it and make it go away and so forth, you could just click and it would just go zap, zap. It would animate to the right and erase to the left, and all in one click. And so it was really it was just that attention getter, if you will, as a speaker. And but I'm not, if somebody is able to find that, I'm going to clear the screen, but I won't disable it if you want to kind of poke around and see if you can find that. Oh, clear. I'll go up here and clear.
I don't think we can annotate.
Yeah, I think it's turned off right now for participants.
Oh, is that right? There you go. Now it's on. Not quite sure. I saw it, but I don't know. Get the mouse, the select, text, draw. I know the example is just a line, but that's just that.
Is it one of your spotlighting features as the person sharing? So on your annotation toolbar, you have a spotlight. Just to the left of the eraser.
Oh.
And then you've got a laser pointer.
Yeah, it's this one right here, I think. No, that's just
the pencil
that's
next
the
to
arrow, just to the right of that.
Yeah. Spotlight, and then what's that one? Yeah, what's that one?
Validating pen. So I'm gonna bring out Kirsten's name, and that just looks like a pen.
Yeah, and then it disappears.
Oh, but it disappears. Okay. So as we speak about her, I don't have to worry about it. Boom, it just fades away.
That's the one.
There we go. Good eye. Thank you, sir.
And you can change the color and the width, the line width.
Where is that?
So annotation toolbar. And this is only for the person that's sharing.
Oh.
It initially shows on the toolbar on Spotlight, but then you can change it to this other.
Right. And that's only the person sharing, because as attendees with our annotation toolbar turned on, we have mouse, text, draw, stamp, arrow, eraser format, as opposed to text, draw, stamp, spotlight, eraser.
Interesting. I like it. I mean, I've always liked kind of, the yellow highlight, translucent yellow highlight that, it kind of gives you focus to what you're pointing at and so forth. And then this where you can know that it goes away. You're not leaving all these remnants. And so did you say you can change the color? So if I change red and I'm using that tool, yep, and then that should disappear just the same. Not. That one should disappear. There you go. So, so it is. It's sensitive to the color option, and so yeah. So that, and it's just a line though. Okay. Kind of wished it would be a mode. Kind of like you could turn on reinforcement, and whether you typed something or you use the arrow stamp or whatnot, that you'd know it would just go away. Well, very good. Well, I'm glad we figured that out. Simple, but simple enough feature, but all right.
One thing that I wish with the annotation toolbar was that in other tools, WebEx and GoToMeeting, you annotate on the slide, and then the minute you change the slide, the annotation's automatically clear. But in Zoom, you have to have somebody ready on the button to clear all the annotation, and then move the slide.
That's true. That is true. I mean, if the speaker were to use the annotation built into PowerPoint, that wouldn't be the case. But it's the Zoom overlay on top of PowerPoint that makes that a little more challenging. Yeah, so much to coordinate, that's for sure. That's why help is good, that's for sure. Get people, get bodies. All right. I'm gonna take a look at sharing here real quick, just to make sure every once in a while I sneak stuff in. And under advanced power, does anybody use PowerPoint as a virtual background? I mean, like actively, it's one of those things that,
I was just the new Keynote release with the dynamic backgrounds.
Yeah, that's what this is. That's what I'm showing right now, actually.
Yeah, I'm considering doing something there, but you can't I haven't figured out how to customize it the way I want to. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of customization on this Zoom, implementation. Let me pull up some files, see if I can find something.
Yeah, I just made a 10-minute video of the keynote and just put it in vMix and messing around with it a little bit, but it's just there's just a few of them there, so.
Yeah. But like this, if I were to share advanced PowerPoint, yeah. So PowerPoint is a virtual background. I pick a file. Wow, that's really.
Oh, you're talking about the. Oh, I'm sorry.
Built into Zoom. Yeah.
You're talking right. That's not really. It is a virtual background, but sorry. You're talking.
I've used it a couple of times, but it makes the webcam feed really small and circular and sticks it down in a corner, which may be okay for the presentations, but if you have a very animated presenter and 50% of the presentation is coming from that person's body language.
But you can adjust that. You can move the person, you can make it bigger.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the default, right? So it removes my background, which is actually fairly impressive because and if I change my camera,
border around it.
let me change to strictly my camera.
There you go.
And no bugs. I'll take the bugs off, and I took the border off as well. So now I'm straight up my camera, but my background is still a gradient gold to almost black, right? And it still got it all, which is always pretty impressive. So anyways, as I drive through these slides and so forth, they change. But myself, I am resizable. You do that. I'm repositionable, so you can move yourself wherever. I think the ones that come across and work the best are the ones that the speaker, be it yourself or a designated speaker, who will design their slides for where your camera's going to be, right? And then all of a sudden you can really. It doesn't look like two things, you're literally embedded in, and whether they built a frame or however, right? One, you won't be on top of any text, that's a given, but you could really custom tailor it to look quite integrated. And then, when you're finished, you stop the share and bingo, you're back to a camera. And, it's certainly, there and usable. I just don't think I've ever seen anybody use it other than a YouTube video showing the feature, so didn't seem to go too far. It's almost like, under the advanced tab, content from a second camera. I definitely am aware of folks that do that don't have a vMix or OBS type solution or Ecamm and portion of screen. I think portion of a screen is a great option. I mean, you basically, if you've got some extra monitors and you just have this hotspot, whatever size and ratio you want, you just have this hotspot. Anything you drag into it, it's gonna go out there. And I mean, the ability to not have like the working mode. Let me go back to this PowerPoint, for instance. Now, this what I'm going to show you is going to be less animation. You're going to sacrifice the ability to animate things on a slide, but the benefit might outweigh it for some folks. So I'm going to open this PowerPoint and first I'm just going to share this desktop. Now, here we go. So there's that. Now, I've seen people give presentations in this mode, and I'm like, are you kidding me? but it's because they want to, have this left side and so forth. I'm like, so instead, I say, if you don't have to animate, do a share portion of the screen, and so you share advanced portion of the screen, click OK there, and then I just have to drag this portion of the screen box around the slide. And so me, the speaker, you just see like this full screen shared slide, but I can click on the slides. I get the whole PowerPoint desktop, and so it's kind of the best of both worlds, as long as they don't drag anything over, into that box, because it's this green outline. Anything that's inside those borders, gets shared. But it can be pretty doggone handy. Or you can have 4 apps open on a big 4K monitor and move the green box to the different apps versus moving the apps to the box. And so I think it's a super flexible option that doesn't get used often enough. And then the advanced video, and the advanced video is, I think it's highly underutilized, but I don't know, I haven't been able to reproduce like a bad experience on this account because it's an enterprise 1080 account. But if you bring up your stats, let me go here, and if you click on that top green shield and then the gear icon there, and bring up your statistics window to see how well the video is performing, which is the video tab. There's overall audio video. Right now I am says I'm receiving. That's because I'm sharing right now, but my send is a 720 send, and I'm receiving 1080. And what's even more important for the video side of things is the frame rate, which is at I'm at 29 frames a second. So I'm gonna keep those stats open, and I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm going to share. I'll go find a video real quick.
Can I ask a question about this while you're trying to find that?
Sure.
About so for cloud recording, and if somebody's screen sharing, basically it seems like the entire cloud recording is locked into the resolution of their screen.
If it's smaller, if it's smaller than your account, it doesn't lock in smaller, I don't think.
I guess
but the recording locks into it looks for its maximum resolution through the whole meeting, and that's the lock-in. Often it's video that causes that, right? Because share, even on that low license, free account, pro account, that doesn't have a 1080 ability, but you share a 1080, or even you share a 4K monitor. When you share a 4K monitor, it's gonna share it in 4K. Even on this lesser account, if you will, but so just like you were saying, now when it processes that recording after the meeting's over, it says, hey, here's a 4K. Everything has to be transcoded up to that, and the rest of your meeting gets pixelated beyond belief, right?
Yeah, unless you end up with a speaker view that's a little tiny box inside of a mega window.
Yeah.
So it's really, just to put it out there, that it's mega important to check in with whoever's going to be screen sharing.
Yeah, make sure they optimize for sure. And the optimize keeps it at least at a standard of 720. That's ultimately Optimize's target is 720 at 25. And
I wish that that screen share and the speaker view recording could be separated a bit more, because I even see commonly, a screen share will be 1080 and someone's camera is coming in at 720, so I've got to stretch up that speaker view to match the screen share in post and stuff. It's a bit.
I had that situation this week. I've got a screen share that's 3,000 by 4,000 pixels wide, and speaker view at 720. How do I fix that?
Yeah.
And my video editor trying to make it, one nice, neat package without pixelating the heck out of it.
Yeah, that's tough. So I'm going to do first a screen share. So the monitor that this video is on is a 2K monitor. And so I'm going to screen share that. I'm not going to optimize it initially. And I'll share the sound in stereo, although it wasn't recorded in stereo. So I'm going to hit share on that. Now, the whole purpose of this is to have your statistics window open under the video tab to see what you receive it at, the frame rate and the resolution. So on my side of things, let me duck that audio a little bit. So I'm sending at 1080 and I'm receiving at 720. I'm sending at about 30 frames a second. I'm receiving at 15. How about you guys?
So
For video or screen sharing?
Screen sharing, yeah.
Screen sharing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I've got 1440.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm sending the full 2K out at 15, 16 frames right now. 15 frames.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you're currently, you've hit share screen button on Zoom, right?
A non-optimized share screen, correct.
Okay, yeah. So we're looking at settings under screen sharing.
Yeah,
and our receive is at 1440.
Yep. So I will reset that. I'll kill that share. And now I'm going to share the same screen. Same screen, but this time I'm going to tell it to optimize. And there's a little help question mark next to it. It says optimize screen sharing for the best full screen video clip experience. Zoom and other app windows may be masked as black boxes, which is a problem. But it doesn't do it on every computer, does it? So I'm going to share optimize this time, but I'm still sharing the screen. I'm not yet using that advanced video share yet. And so we'll hit that. We'll go full screen, hit play.
Yeah, that looks good.
Interesting. Now, though, it's coming in at 720.
Yeah. So it's knocked down my monitor resolution of 2K down to 720. And in fact, this video is a 1080 video, and it's taken that down, as well, along with the monitor.
Wow.
And the frame rate is 14, 15.
That's right.
So not optimal, but not horrible. Is it fairly smooth on your guys' end?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, we have black bars on the left and the right, but
yeah. It isn't a 16 by 9.
I mean, when you watch his fingering, you're not seeing any blurring. That's actually tracking pretty accurately. Cool. On that question mark icon for optimized, did it say something like sacrifices frame rate refresh?
No, it doesn't. I think the advanced share may though. So now let me go to the advanced video share, and when I clicked on video, just the first click, it defaults to checking the share sound in stereo, and it defaults to optimize for video clip. Let me hide that. Come on, go away. And then this. So if I mouse over optimize for video clip, it says optimize screen share for viewing video clip, and the question mark. It says the same thing. Yeah, nothing about frame rate, although that's really what the video share is all about. So I will share.
Seen that. Maybe it was there and they took it out. I know I've seen it before.
They may have, yeah. So so this video share now, using the advanced video share, the last one we did was optimized screen share, and we got the 720, but it was about 15 frames a second. This, I would anticipate, will still get 720, but we should see it about 24, 25 frames a second. So using this share tool instead. Whoops, that's not the one. I have to pick this video manually when I use this. So let me go find this real quick. Anybody think this punk looks like me? He's a mini me. And he's got a brother that looks just like him. He's a twin as well. All right, here we go. All right, so I don't know if you guys have used this or not, or some of you may have been here when I've demoed this before. When I selected advanced video, it was optimized, and I said share, it pops open a file open dialog. So you go find your file. That's a prep step when you're managing a meeting, is to find that and do it once so it will remember where that file was, or put it under whatever Windows and the quick access trees, put it there, make it easy to find, because it will stop and still make you select it. Then you finally hit play. On my side, I'm no longer consuming a whole screen of anything. I just have this floating window on my monitor with a video in it. Even though it's floating, it's resizable, it's always going to be a full screen share to you guys, which is super convenient. And if I mouse over it, right now I'm doing that, there's a playhead on it that pops up and goes away and pops up and goes away. And I can click on the play button. I can move the playhead, and I can also adjust the volume in the player, and it will duck it through the share. And so size doesn't matter on my end, being the one who's sharing it. So that makes it really friendly on the desktop. And but it doesn't autoplay. And so my trick on that is when you tell it to do a video share and you find the file in the file system and you click share, get ready to hit your space bar as quick as you can. Click share, space bar, boom. The space bar will make it play. I think, for me anyways, that's the easiest way to make it kind of act like an autoplay. So I'm going to go ahead and play.
Yeah, I'm getting 26, 24.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, so the frame rate is just, I mean, doesn't matter what kind of an account you have, you're going to get like 24, 25 frames a second sharing a video, which fascinates me why people are still wondering what's the best way to share a video. It's like, well, hello, go to the advanced tab and share a video. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of an account you have anymore, you're gonna get 720 HD and you're gonna get it at about 25 frames a second, which is fantastic. So, works really well. And like, even when I pop the playhead open, you're not seeing that on your side, right?
No, we don't see the playhead.
It's up. I'm gonna rewind it a little bit. I'll fast forward a little bit. And yeah, it just works and works really well. All right, and you can, and all you have to do is close the video player on my desktop. I don't have to click on stop share. It closing the video player stops the share. And that can be to your benefit or detriment if you have another video to share. But needless to say, it makes it pretty convenient. But the performance of delivering a video over Zoom, if you don't, especially when you don't have OBS or vMix or Ecamm or something to help assist, and the license, the real benefit of this player is those on the entry-level licenses, the free and the pro, still can deliver video beautifully using this share method. So,
do you use VLC media player? Like if you had a playlist queued up, would you be able to bounce through? Okay.
No, I would.
Or just shares file by file.
I would go here. I would do I have this desktop? Yeah, it's file by file. It's not going to be a playlist. The closest the closest I could emulate that would be, you know, taking, let's say, my 4 videos that need to be my playlist, pulling them into a quick access folder of, you know, a Windows quick access, or Mac has the same, you know, feature, right? So it's right up top, super easy and fast to get to. I'm almost positive. Let me go confirm while you're asking here. If I go to my video library and yeah, I'm trying to multi-select. Yeah, it won't let me multi-select files either. So if I do now, if I drag, yeah, in this dialog, I'd have to pre-build the quick access menu before I do all this. But I think that would be my quickest emulation. Now, if I needed to go back to back, let me real quickly build a quick access video folder. So let me take that.
While you're building that quick access folder, just thinking out loud. So you're playing the one video, the guy playing his saxophone. You know where it's going to be the end of the video, so you're going into the screen share button again, advanced, clicking through to get to the menu, the folder. You click on the file, and then you're just waiting until the right time to click OK, and make that one go, the next video go live.
Yeah, so I've created a folder called Josh Sax. It has 3 videos in it. I'm going to drag and drop it onto the quick access folder, and then I'm going to drag that to the top of the list. So, and I'll see if that carries over as far as positionally. So now I'm going to go back to share, video, share, quick access. It's right up top. Josh Sachs is right up top on the list, and so it's there. So there's one. Can't multi-select, so I got the one there. I'm going to click open and play that. While it's playing, let me duck this a little bit more. While it's playing, I'm going to click on new share and click video, click share. I'm going to I've got the open file dialog now, but I'm not going to click open until he's finished, right? And so you'll have to tell me how smooth this is going to be. Back to back, 2 separate video files. I'll call them done here. And there's the second one.
It was just a quick fade to black.
Yeah, you know, and let me do that. I mean,
Was
with
that
a touch
in
of
the source video?
what I didn't do. No, it was me. I didn't. So you get a black screen until I hit play, and what I had not prepared my hands was to use my left thumb while I'm right hand clicking the mouse, is to left thumb the space bar for the play. And so I'm gonna be better prepared, and I'm gonna go share the
that
first
didn't look
one.
bad. That quick fade to black, that didn't look bad.
Cool. So here we go. Here's the first one. I'll give it 5 or 10 seconds, and then I'll bring up the second one. So here's I keep doing it. I want to make sure I get the feeling of autoplay. Okay, here we go. Open spacebar. Boom. That's as quick as it can. Now while he's playing, I'm gonna say share video. Go to the file dialog. Highlight the second video, and I'm gonna translate. Here we go to the other one now. That's the second one.
That looked great. There was a quick fade to black, and then the second video came up. And it was literally a fade. It wasn't a cut. It wasn't a fade.
That's awesome. I didn't know. Let me go back to the other one and see if it is doing that consistently then.
Yeah, that was a fade in.
I had no idea it managed it that way. Let me do.
You would expect a cut, but it was a fade.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Same kind of thing between that. This was my birthday present from my boy.
Is that recorded in stereo?
No, he just recorded it on his. Well, I guess the iPhone would record in stereo.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can hear it in your headphones.
You can hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I saw you react to that pretty quickly. So.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like my whole headspace changed. It was like, whoa.
Nice. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, so it was his iPhone, which would have recorded stereo bouncing off his bedroom walls, I guess. So.
Pretty amazing.
Cool.
When was the birthday?
Oh, I think he did that for me for a couple years ago. I'm a January 1st baby, so.
Oh, okay. So you were born January 1st?
Yeah.
My brother was also.
Ah, very cool.
Number two in the city that year. He's always claimed he's always been.
Oh, really? I disappointed my parents by making it like 3 p.m. or something in Southern California. I was probably number 200 or something. Who knows?
No scholarship for you.
No gifts for them. That's right. All right. Well,
my father always complained about losing a whole year of a tax deduction. That was his
exactly. Well, I guess what? He doesn't have to live with that horrible birthday. It's awful. I mean, even my mom, she for years hasn't sent me gifts because, it's after Christmas and they're out of money. They're tired of shopping. I mean, I always get a call. Hi,
Welcome
honey.
to Zoom Therapy Kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, we've had our good ones, but people are, it must be a great party. It's like, well, I don't drink, so. Anyways,
I've been pretty busy and haven't been on the kitchen for a while, but boy, you've cleaned up your act. I'll tell you, it's a good looking show.
Oh, well, thank you, John. I appreciate that. I just have I was scrambling this. I saw you jump in early, so I let you in, but I had to leave the house real quick in between that time and all that, and I had to change. Usually I have a blue background, but I put on a blue shirt, so I changed that quick, and so.
Oh, look good! It was a great session today. It's always fun to see who you get on and what things you solve.
It is fun, and I've found my I don't know, you guys, what caught your attention today? The Facebook event invitation or the email that I sent?
Email.
The email is what got me going.
Tamara?
Email. Yeah.
Email.
I saw it on the Facebook, and I'm kind of new to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I remembered on the Facebook.
Cool.
I'm trying to break my meta habit.
I've always done, the Facebook invites with just occasional, producing. I don't know how to get like a whole dump of anybody who's ever registered for Zoom Test Kitchen, which has been the same ID the whole time. I would think I should be able to just generate this report of registrants of the Zoom Test Kitchen last week and get anybody who's ever up to that point, but it doesn't do that. And so I find myself occasionally, this week's email went from last week's database, so it was close enough. But I'll tell you, what's that?
I started using Luma to do invites, and then that will copy everybody into the next event.
Zuma?
Luma, L-U.
Oh, Luma. Yeah.
The only trouble with it is that it puts it into people's update files. So sometimes people don't see it, but I like it because it tells me who's opened it, who hasn't, and it.
That's cool.
Can copy from one to the other, and
then
you have your whole audience.
It uses the Zoom database.
So it has. You populate the initial database, but then when people log in, you can hook it up to your Zoom, so the Zoom link will be in there.
Oh, good.
And then, I'll get a little registration thing that says register. I click on one button once I've registered before. It just takes me, it'll send me, and it will do all those emails for you in advance. So it'll send
That's awesome.
It does an hour before.
I seriously need to check it out and that's the thing is I didn't used to get bounced emails, and now I do, and I want to respect especially the people who write and say, please remove me, but when I send these, I'm not doing a footer for unsubscribe. I'm just writing an email, right? And
choose not to have the updates. from their end, they can be like, don't want it. Okay, fine.
Yeah, yeah. No, that would be great. I need to start managing a central database because I think there's like 600 that and that's the other thing is I do it, from my Google account, and I can only do like 100 blind copies at a time, and so I have to send it out like 6 different times, not to exceed the carbon copy maximum number. So, time for me to grow up a little, I guess.
If you're a Google guy, you can also do a Google list, or
like a distribution list. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't think about that. So I need to grow that, but I have found a lot more responsiveness from the emails versus the Facebook invites. And the Facebook invites is all I've done for the last year and a half plus, and I think like you mentioned, John, is kind of making that change. I think it must be kind of a bit of a sign that multiple people are going through that, so email has gotten more and better attention. So I will keep doing that, but I've got to go prep. I need to shoot a reception tonight and go get some gear ready for that. But always good hanging out. Anything else new, John, in your world?
Nothing new. I mean, I've got the excitement of a wedding happening in August, so that's
cool.
Always interesting. Finally, took 40 years to get my son off my payroll, so now he'll have somebody else look out for him.
Is it Brendan who's getting married?
Brendan's getting married.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we're pretty excited
congratulations.
about that.
That's cool.
I went to my brother had some health issues during COVID, and we went to visit him, and we'd planned this trip back in February, and even though the numbers were going up, we said, well, we'll risk it. And of course, we went to visit my brother, all was fine, came home and had COVID. So I've recovered from that, but maybe that's good. It means I've got it over with. But that's the latest, news with me is I'm, recovered from COVID. I ended up, all my gear was on my state parks project for World Ocean Day, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
The good news is I have a colleague who did our first ocean dive with the state, or not ocean dive, but Lake Tahoe dive. And I said, hey, you should come down here and watch this one. It'd be a lot of fun. And the day before I did my normal, set up all the gear, hooked it up, made sure it worked, tagged all the tables with gaffer's tape, and, everything worked fine, packed it back into the boxes to put in the car. In fact, I actually loaded the car. And then did my COVID test that morning when I felt bad, and they picked up my car and drove all my gear there.
Man.
Did the event. Actually, excuse me, it was sort of good because I realized this is the way to do events. Have somebody else do all the work. It worked perfectly.
Yeah, not a bad concept.
Yeah, they were all thankful. And I remember, it was a lot of work. It was sweaty. I had to roll the stuff all out. They came back all clean, all put back together. So this is not a bad gig.
Yeah. I was on the road for airplanes and road for 2 months nonstop. Just a bundle of freelancing for some production companies, and from Bismarck, North Dakota, which I had never been to before, to down south to San Antonio, Texas, and several places in between. It was good because those were, when I get brought in because they need a virtual arm, that is stream in and zoom in and so forth. But they're in-person events. They're full-on hybrids, and they're, large in person. And, my experience till as of late of helping unload a, 53-foot trailer of gear is like, holy moly, there's a lot of cases in this doggone truck. But, and no one's going to yell at me if I don't help, but I always help. That's part of why I like doing it is I want to get my hands on it, my eyes on it. I haven't been strapping anything down as far as rigging, but I've been watching close on all their safety measures and so forth. And lighting consumes the most time and
when we did our studio here in Monterey, a lens fell out of a projector, and luckily it didn't hit anybody, but that was that was a $5,000 worth of bounce.
Yeah.
Not to mention the challenge of getting it. But no, but think back, Jeff, 2 years ago, what it was like when you did your first Zoom kitchen. Who would have thought it would have turned into all of this?
I know, right? Yeah. I just wanted to hang out with some people so I could test some things in Zoom. That's just where it all came from. And
so, what's your relationship with Zoom? Are you working for them, still partnering, or how's that going?
Yeah, I've interviewed a few, for a few different roles because I'd love to go work for them as an organization, but that just hasn't, worked out. But yeah, outside of that, I'm doing this. Yeah.
Well, I know you're a trusted partner.
Yeah. I think they reached out. I think Robin had somebody reach out. Robin from the events, the product manager of the events platform, and had them reach out and ask me to beta test some stuff. And I tried, but then I was gone. And these days are 12, 18-hour days. So I wasn't a very good contributor on that particular beta project. But hopefully we can keep those things alive and well. But yeah, it's a good group for sure. And it's fun having Andy there and starting to see some of this acquisition come to reality into the product and all that. So
yeah, no, it's a lot of fun having Andy in the mix.
No question.
I just sent a note to Mickey because if you remember the early days of office hours when we joked about me putting up the Post-it note for NDI.
Yeah.
So I sent a note to Mickey. It's here. Took a lot longer than we thought. But
Yeah. I tested. I was on that call with you and Greg Gibson, and Brendan showed up after, and that whole bit of testing that first kind of iteration of NDI in the Zoom rooms, So, yeah, it's come a long ways and continues to. It always impressed me as being a very innovative organization and making a great lineup of products, and it's quite cool. So it's been fun. Over the last, I think I've been here twice over the last 6 weeks, maybe. I've had David step in or Rupert step in, and just getting out. Josh, I think, did it as well, and it stays alive and ticking, but sometimes it gets a little bit challenging for me to carve out that Friday afternoon, but most of them work out okay. And it's just turned out to be
because it's been a long time since I'd shown up, and then it was always Lois is always great to be there, and it's going to be a good conversation.
Yeah, she's a hoot. She's a just the change and growth and knowledge and contribution, it's just staggeringly cool. So pretty neat to see, and got friends all over the world, right? Robert Sababity, from the translation group and out of Poland, and
he's my go-to guy when anybody has translation questions, and it's good to see Leo today.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Leo show up in a long time, and there's a lot of whether it's office hours faces or Zoom test kitchen faces that kind of come and go, and you just kind of wonder what's going on with those folks. And will they be back? And they usually show up sometime. That's the other thing that the email blast has done the last couple of weeks is some of the folks who used to kind of establish the kitchen way back when have popped back in, and so it's been good to see folks as well. And Tamara, how did you learn about the Zoom test kitchen? Oh, I think that last person that came in, I turned off unmuting, just in case. So now you can unmute.
Yeah, I actually don't remember. I would think I was in maybe one of the eCam things, and they mentioned it, so that's how I joined it. I wish I would have had it earlier.
Yeah.
I would have been here for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So what's your day job? What do you do?
So I'm a theater producer off Broadway and in Los Angeles, and then I also work in TV film. So when we shut down 2 years ago, I unemployed 5 shows in 3 states in 20 minutes.
Wow.
And then a lot of what I've done is people have come to me, just like I'm sure they come to everybody else, and said, well, how do we do this thing that we used to do in person in a digital space? And so we've done theater online, but a lot of stuff I do, I run a writing retreat every month that kind of did the same thing. We started as kind of, all right, let's try it. And now it's kind of much bigger. And then I do this thing called speed date, which is talk about using Zoom breakout rooms in the most obnoxious way possible. We take 22 writers and we do them in 2 groups, so 11 writers and 11 producers, and they basically go into a breakout room. They pitch for 2 minutes. The producers, I'll give them 2 minutes of response, and then we switch. And the only way to do that is to pull everybody in and out of breakout. So they go into the main center. I've got one stage manager who moves everybody down, the writers down, and then opens it up again. We get sucked back in, and we do it 11 times.
So I don't know how fast I can find this video to share with you, but it'll knock your socks off of what you just described. And you heard us talking about this guy named Andy. And Andy, he, how many years ago did he graduate now? 3 years ago from college, John? Maybe 4? You're muted.
If I knew how to use this tool, I'd be amazing. I think 2020 was going to be his graduation.
Yeah. So, fairly recent grad, and but just sharp and incredibly motivated. But he comes from the theater space. He was strong tech in college and strong theater as well. And to where he got involved in some very, very cool, like the most creativity I've ever seen delivered in Zoom, for sure.
Well, his interview with Tony Mobley was fascinating. I mean, it's really, and that was pre, being hired, being his company being bought by Zoom, being hired by Zoom. So
so
that's a career we're going to want to watch.
Yeah, he founded a company called Liminal Technologies, or Liminal Entertainment Technologies, and he was the creator of what was called Zoom OSC. And Zoom OSC, imagine having a Stream Deck with these buttons that these buttons will, they pre-populate with, everybody you either want or have in the meeting. And he created and developed all that product, and Zoom ISO to be able to pull isolated video out and so forth. And, caught Zoom's attention, caught the market's attention and caught Zoom's attention. And a few months back, they acquired his portions of his company and technology and transitioned most of the people as well somewhere in Zoom. And so he's a developer at Zoom now, or product. And great guy, super talent. But I had a project for a client that was very much like speed dating. It was their best performing salespeople in this organization, and the treat they wanted to provide them at this award ceremony was the opportunity to have I think it was a 3 or 4 minute one-on-one with each individual executive. And so our need was to create these rooms, one for each executive, and then take this large group of individuals, of performers, and if there's 15 execs, throw the first 15 people, one in front of each exec, and then rotate them, and the next group, and so forth. And so it built in Isadora, and it was all. I mean, it wasn't. It could have almost been 100% automated, but it was first evolution, and so we wanted to kind of manually push the big buttons, but it pulled in the list. We defined them, and it could be one person, one salesperson, or a pair. Could be them and a spouse, and then we defined who the executives were, and that determined the number of rooms. Then it created, it was quite automated, and it is one,
Yeah, no, mine is manual, and I would love to find a way to automate it, because the one thing I can't do. So we used to do this in in a real space. We'd be in a theater space, and on the outside were the producers. The writers would be on the inside, but there's this other little group called trailing producers who just I'm a producer, I give feedback, the trailing producer watches me. And the problem that we have is that the writers have to go one direction and the trailing producers have to go the other direction, so that they're all seeing different people. And we haven't been able to do that, because the only way I have to do it is to have a stage manager move people manually. So we have all the writers in capitals, and they're numbered, and then she just moves them down. But we can't move. There's not enough time in that downtime to move everybody back up. So if there's an automated way, I would be like,
well, if the I'll say this is if there's logic in the model that can be applied to code, it can be developed. There's no question about it. It's when things somebody thinks it makes sense, but it's really haphazard. Haphazard can't be applied to code, right? But when it's logical and it's structured and so forth, then it can be written. There's no question. I will find pop your email in the chat real quick, and I'll put it out, and I'll send you an email when I find this video. It's on YouTube, either on my channel or Andy's, and we demoed the solution, and I think you'll get excited about what you see. It may not be the complete, but it's very close to what you described.
I mean, a lot of it has been, I have a stage manager who does it, and I'm like, the first time we did it, it didn't work, because we did it as, down and dirty as you could possibly imagine. We gave people a dashboard, and we had them move themselves, and that was it. We did it in separate rooms. We had 11 different rooms, different accounts, or different accounts that we switched back and forth. And that was a mess, partly because at the very beginning of the pandemic, if you were on a Chromebook, you couldn't get into a breakout room still. So it was like we were like, okay, well, what happened? That didn't work. So this works, and we've done it 9 times now. So it works, but I still think I want to fix that other. If I could find a way to do that other piece, that would be great.
Cool. Well, I'll dig it up for you. I mean, it may be something, even if it is turns into a potential, need to pay for project at 80+% of the initial code has already been written and developed. So
my next one that I'm doing, which I did once last year, is taking 200 actors from around the world, some singing, some not, and doing an audition event similar, where it's not separate Zoom rooms, it's one. So they come in and see 60 to 70 producers and casting directors from Broadway and across the country, and I bring in. So last year I went into 167 actors Zooms and relit them, and I can do three-point lighting with a desk lamp.
Nice.
So,
nice. Wow.
So that's
a lot of work.
Next big one. That's coming up.
Well, cool. Good stuff. Sounds like fun projects for sure. I'll find that. Yeah, I loved having you. Come back anytime and share what you're doing, and if anything we can help you with, we'll give it our best shot. There's a lot of resources, a lot of knowledge. They're not all here every Friday, but there's answers out there for almost everything if it's doable, So, well, very good. Jason, anything else from you, bud?
No, we're doing good down here. I've been buried in a lot of video editing lately. People handing me their Zoom meetings, like I was saying, and take this turd and turn it into gold.
Yeah, that's tough. When the source makes it so challenging,
The slides are in 3,000 by whatever pixels, and the speaker videos in 360, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, extra challenge for sure.
Yeah, don't know that I've got it figured out as good as I'd like to. I've just today I finished the 12th video, so I've got a process down, I've got a system down, but deep down inside I'm like, okay, this is good enough.
Yeah,
it's not great, it's good enough. And you all know, being professionals, like, good enough is like sanding your chapstick.
It's tough to. It's no matter the project or even the price, it's just tough to hand out anything less than kind of our own standards, And but sometimes you just have to, be done. So, well, that's enjoy your weekend, enjoy that project, and I will maybe see you all next week.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right, take care.
You.